Hello.
Hello. Hi. Hi, Flor. Oh,
Yeah.
hi, Flor. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you so much. Öncelikle gerçekten muhteşem bir sesiniz var. Burada olduğunuz için çok mutluyum.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Sizin kayıtlarınızı her izlediğimde büyüleniyorum. Çok farklı ses kullanıyorsunuz gerçekten. Bazı kayıtlarda operatik okumalarınız var, bazılarında brutal. Yani sizinle ilgili şu an çok fazla şey öğrenmek istiyorum.
Alright.
Yes.
Great.
Benim kanalım genelde eğitim üzerine kurulu bir kanal. Ben de ilk olarak size müzik eğitiminizle alakalı şeyler sormak istiyorum. Nasıl bir eğitim aldınız? Eğitim süreciniz nasıl geçti?
Alright. Well, I went to a school called Rock Academy. That school did not exist when I was still in high school, even though I was already singing in a band and already using my voice. I didn't really had any lessons, and even without those lessons, I did manage to get into this education. Mm-hmm. And there they started teaching vocal lessons that were not working for me at all. So after 3 years of barely learning anything and nearly giving up on it, I met a teacher who came to do a master class. Mm-hmm. Edward Hoepelman. He is a main teacher at the musical department of the conservatory in the same city where I used to study, in Tilburg in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. And that man so quickly showed me that he was going to be the teacher for me. So I asked my school, can I have lessons with him instead? And they agreed, also because my motivation was the things that I try to do in my band, which at the time was After Forever. I don't get any lessons, and I've been waiting for years to figure out what I'm doing and to get better lessons in this. But every time you tell me no, and every time I get a reason why, and well, this man just listened to what I was doing, and so I went to the conservatory for those lessons and took with me demos of After Forever and started working on them there, which also resulted into me getting more curious to what they were doing, and I started following more lessons on the music theater department. So inevitably came some acting and dancing lessons, and also some lessons more musical direction, which wasn't per se for me, but it was interesting to learn different styles and to learn the use of your body when you perform a lot, and it was a very interesting time. And when I finished Rock Academy, I actually continued for 1 year music theater, which was impossible to do because I was touring so much with After Forever that a full-time study was very difficult. And just when I thought I'm actually done, I was about 23, 24. My voice kind of said, you mature somehow. And the opera sounds became much rounder and mature, and it was decided that we would continue 1 year more in part-time to focus only on opera singing, and then opera used in opera and not opera used in metal, which was a huge difference for me. Very interesting. So, bit of a story. That was my studies. Quite long.
Yes, very nice. Eğitim hayatı oldukça dolu dolu geçtiğini söylüyor. Fakat tabii hani anlattığı kadarıyla benim gördüğüm, şimdi yaptığı müzikte ilginç şeyler var. Mesela daha önceki Revamp grubuyla baya brutal teknikler uyguladığını görüyorum. Yani bu sesiyle ilgili hiçbir sorun yaşadı mı bugüne kadar kariyerinde?
No problems. No. But I did it to learn because by the time I was finished with my studies, I would say that the I don't know if you agree with me on this, but the lessons and the methods that are there for modern singing, so not opera, everything but opera, is relatively young. Opera singing goes back hundreds of years, and that technique and knowledge has also grown throughout centuries. Whereas pop singing, not classical singing, is decades old, and these developments of they develop really fast now. Mm-hmm. But when I started, Rock Academy was the first non-classical school for music, pop music in the Netherlands, that really took the step away from conservatory or real classical. And the reason why my vocal lessons were so poor was because they were still developing methods. They were searching for how to form, to give it some kind of shape that fits for an education. And well, in the last years, lots have happened, and this method came called complete vocal technique from Catherine Sutherland. Mm-hmm. I believe she's Danish, and she came with a book that indeed comes very close to a very complete vocal technique. In that book and her method comes growling and distorted singing, and the book, I never had real lessons for it, but I understood what they were doing, and I started to do the exercises that came with it. Mm-hmm. And then it felt good, and I guess I am experienced enough to know when to stop. There's always the gray zone between knowing what you're doing and not knowing. So when you start off, you don't know, and you have to feel and try, and that always comes with it's trial and error there. But you always get the reward when it is good. And then from there, I started to experiment and actually use it in music, and even in Nightwish, but much more in Revamp. Yeah.
Wow. Şimdi bütün gençler, özellikle rock müzikle uğraşan gençler bu brutal tekniği kullanmak istiyor. Ama bir yandan da çok güçlü seslere sahip olmak istiyor. Ve genelde benim gördüğüm kadarıyla güçlü ses ve brutal ses çoğu zaman aynı kişide olmuyor. Fakat sizde var bu.
As far as I know, it's more of a technical question than a physical question. So of course you have a tendency towards something. So my vocal cords and everything around it, they're built to sing high very easily, and they're built to they maneuver very fast. That's always been very easy for me. And from there, I build up techniques that I can use to keep them away from harm. What could happen when somebody who's naturally good in growling or distorted singing tries clean singing is that you do everything the same that you do for growling, all the basic drives the same, and you copy paste that onto regular singing, and that doesn't work. If only because with growling you use not your vocal cords but your false vocal cords. It's not the actual vocal cords that work, and because with distorted singing you actually should be singing less. There's less volume coming out because you kind of restrict it back. So that's also why some singers that sing with a clear voice and they try to sing distorted, like me, first hurt themselves, because you kind of expect that heavy, raw sound to be very loud, and it actually acoustically isn't. It sounds that way, but you actually make the volume softer. If you don't, then something goes wrong, and maybe people get lost in translation between the different buttons to push, so to speak. But for me, it was something I could learn, but I would still say I'm naturally better in clean singing than I am in growling or distorted.
Sizin ses renginiz tam olarak nedir? Yani bir soprano ama koloratür mü? Nedir? Lirik mi? Tam olarak bunun şeyi nedir? Range nedir?
I don't know.
Wow. Why?
I don't know. I guess I don't care sounds really stupid, but I don't know because it never mattered to me. I'm not going to sing an opera at the operas. Yeah. I'm using my voice in metal, and I can sing very high, very easy. So I guess I know I'm a soprano, but which type? For me, it doesn't really matter. Maybe you know.
Bütün fanlarınız hep sizin koloratür soprano olduğunuzu yazıyor. Hatta bazıları diyor ki koloratür soprano nasıl çalıştırılır diye, nasıl eğitim alır diye bana soruyorlar size sormam için.
I mean, if I would have had an extensive opera, like classical singing background, then I would probably know. But in that year, I was more focused on learning the techniques and learning how to sing classical, because that it's such a huge world between metal, which is all based on rhythm and the same tempo, and classical singing that's just somewhat that written down. Now we're going to go a little faster, now we're going to go slow down. I'm not used to that. I
know
that. So following, feeling and remembering a whole opera, that took forever. That was my focus, and not really what kind of voice I have.
Süper. Peki ses genişliği ilgili bir şey söyleyebilir mi? Kaç oktav veya başladığı kalın ses veya en ince ses?
I don't know. I don't care.
I don't care.
Yeah. But I would say four to five.
Fanlarınızın da birçok sorusu var. Onlardan da katıyorum kendi bu soruların içine. Mesela benim düşünceme göre her şarkıcının dönemleri vardır. Bir başlangıç dönemi, kendini daha iyi hissettiği bir dönem. Bir de harika bir dönemi vardır. Yani bu yıllar içinde oluşturulur. Kendisini bunun içinde nasıl bir dönemde hissediyor?
Oy. I'm very, very satisfied with what I can do with my voice. So I would say I'm at the last stage, but I don't think you ever stop learning. There are still things that I find in my voice, or I find in the way I can express myself through my voice. And if all is well, that is a lifetime of growing. I kind of hope so. So, yeah.
Peki günlük bir çalışma rutini var mı? Şu an mesela hani kendini sıkı tutmak için veya günlük bir çalışma rutini var mı? Bir de konser öncesi bir rutini var mı? Çalışma rutini.
At home, I don't really practice like that. I sing every day, but I never in my life needed to really practice much to keep it going. Yeah, but I think I am born with one of the easiest set of vocal cords than you can have. I barely ever get sick, and when I'm sick, I can still sing. I never lost my voice in my life because of singing. Heavy cold, sure. If there's a lot of thick mucus on the cords itself, then there's nothing you can do. But I've never mistreated my voice so much that I would lose it. So I'm very fortunate there, but I have trained a lot when I was younger, and I think I've laid a very good foundation for what I have today. And so it didn't just happen naturally. I'm born with a good set of chords, and from there I practiced my ass off. Pardon my French. And that was needed, and I think, like I said, that laid the foundation for a base that I have. And when I need to practice for something, then I repeat until vocal or muscle memory starts to take over. That is, in this phase where I am, the most important thing to have, also to last for a tour. And on tour, before a concert, we usually actually do sound checks. And that's the moment when I start to use my voice full force. So before that, I warm up. And usually, if it's a regular show day, we do the sound check somewhere halfway the afternoon. So before that, I warm up, and I kind of see the sound check as a part of the warm up. And after that, I don't need to do very much to get my voice going before the show. Maybe hum a little if there's a little bit of mucus in the after eating or something. But the chords are ready to go by that time. So after touring a while, everything is pretty up and running.
Very nice. Merak ediyorum, ses sağlığını korumak için özel bir formülü var mı? Uyguladığı bir şeyler ya da?
I think it's a combination of factors. For me, the most important is that I am healthy. So if I really use my voice, I preferably have the energy to do so, because else there is always a chance you start to strain a bit more. It's maybe obvious, but I think very easily forgotten. That's why I mention it. But And I think what I mentioned before this, that I trained so much when I was younger, I conditioned my voice and my whole system through through endless repetition of the same exercises, which makes that both my mind and my body goes into, oh yes, here we go, singing mode. And I think that conditioning is a very important thing, and that's also a very personal thing. One exercise works for you and the other works for him or her. It's very personal, but of course the build up is for every muscle the same. You don't start exercising very tough, you start slow and you build it up. All of that works. I find mirrors highly effective, so you can always see how you're doing, what you're stressing in your throat, or if you're actually using your body or not. That is something, especially on days where I don't feel great, since you can't feel great every day, you need to kind of help yourself, and through the conditioned repetition exercises, I get into where I need to be.
Birçok insana sesini ve ses kullanımıyla ilham kaynağı oluyor diyorlar. Bu yolda giderken keşke şu tavsiye daha önceden verilseydi, bana söylenseydi dediği bir tavsiyesi var mı? Kendi yolunda ilerlemek isteyenler için.
Oh wow, well, that's wonderful to hear, first of all. Good compliment.
It's hard.
Yeah. About it, because I guess people have been trying to tell me, or maybe, like, to get a certain confidence in what you can do and what you can't do. And I was very focused on what I couldn't do so I could better it, and I was very I had a lot of ambitions, and with that also comes insecurities, because you're very aware of what you cannot do. And I was definitely a woman in a man's world. So if anything, I maybe would want to tell myself to not fight for it so hard. It will come. But I was so impatient to prove myself to everybody. A young girl up against the world of men, where they look down on you from the get-go. Despite my tallness, I'm a very tall woman.
Yes.
I remember being in Turkey, actually, and got a lot of attention just for that, because I'm taller than 9 out of 10 people in Turkey. But that happens in more countries, actually. But it didn't help me there, and in my mindset, it would have helped me to tell myself to give myself some credit.
Very cool, very cool. Erkeklerin dünyasından bahsetti. Biz gerçekten bu metal dünyasında, rock dünyasında tamamen erkek egemen bir şeyin içinde girmenin zorlukları neler? Ne hissetti ilk girdiğinde? Ne gibi zorluklar yaşadı? Merak ettim şimdi ben.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't the complete first. We had a small platform starting in the Netherlands, where I'm from, back in the days, with a band called The Gathering, which they were a metal band with a female singer, and they made a song called Strange Machines, which picked up really good, and it really that gave me the inspiration to start singing in a metal band to start with. And I think it paved the way for bands such as Within Temptation and After Forever to start with in the Netherlands. At the same time, there was also Nightwish already starting, and there were a few more bands with female singers that started to emerge, and from that came interest in that kind of bands. So created a platform for us to get a foot between the door. Nevertheless, quite often you would end up standing in front of a crowd that did not know what to do with a female singer. But yeah, I guess because that was my normal, I kind of dealt with it, and I felt as much one of the guys as I do today. Obviously, being a woman and not being a tomboy in order to function in a man's world, I think I naturally kind of stand my ground, and I naturally don't really care either. Also, when you throw obscene stuff at me, I just think that you're complete idiot and that's it. Too bad for you. You're so stupid. It's not going to affect me anymore. Mm-hmm. And I guess that attitude got me pretty far. And I often get the question, how is it to be a woman in a man's world? But because I am a woman and always have been, I wouldn't know how it is any other way apart from what I said in my previous answer, that it felt like I needed to work a little bit harder than the rest to prove myself.
Türkiye'de bulunduğundan bahsetti. Türkiye'de ne amaçla bulunmuştu ve Türkiye'deki grupları, müziği ne kadar takip ediyor, biliyor mu? Şarkıcıları.
I was in Istanbul for many years ago, and later more on the coast on a sailing boat, from small places to small places, and we stayed on the boat most of the time. It was really wonderful, just eating fish straight out of the ocean, and not trying to get sunburned because my skin is not really in the sun. And Istanbul, I was with my sister, and she's even taller than me and blonde. So you have three tall ladies. Really, there were people just secretly filming us or following.
Yes,
it's really funny. I later also heard, I still don't know if it's true, that female basketball was very popular. So they thought that we were maybe basketball players, but that was, but. But yeah, that was my experience in Turkey, and I really loved it. So I think it's an interesting city too, Istanbul, because it is in two continents, obviously, but also because of the mix of very modern Turkey and the old Turkey, old-fashioned Turkey. So I can imagine that women in Turkey have many different positions, more what we would call here in Netherlands or Sweden, modern women, or and women that are more tied to the old days positions, which maybe makes it also a little bit harder for Turkish women to fight for the same position as I was born into in the Netherlands. But we're still worldwide in a position where we need to fight a little bit harder for the same position as men. And well, that's just how it is. I unfortunately don't know any rock or metal band in Turkey, though. So,
okay. Yes, maybe yani Şebnem Ferah, belki isimler, bir grup. Hiç Türkiye'de bir müzik duymadınız mı? Ben de bilmiyorum, bir radyodan veya bir şeyden öyle bir şansınız olmadı mı?
Belki Tarkan'ı duymuşsunuzdur
yani. Yeah, yes, yeah. I heard, yeah.
İleriki dönemde Nightwish'le Türkiye'ye gelmelerini çok isteriz. Birçok fanı mutlaka burada konser vermelerini istiyor. Bu dileklerini onlara iletelim.
That would be wonderful. I'll send an email because I did see your the request for this interview came in through our management. So I looked up your blog or your YouTube channel, and I was amazed how many people follow you, and I saw a little video of where you talk about, I think it was Ghost Lost Score, but since I don't understand the word in Turkish, I could only go for body language. And I thought it was amazing to see how many people follow it. And of course, Turkey is a huge country. So yeah, it would be wonderful once this terrible lockdown is done. Then we go back and travel. Yeah.
We are waiting you. Bunun haricinde şimdi şöyle bir şey var. Diyor ki bazı arkadaşlarımız, sahneye çıkarken hiç tedirgin olduğu zamanlar oluyor mu? Veya ne bileyim, güvensiz olduğu zamanlar oluyor mu? Yoksa çok kendine güvenen bir şarkıcı mı? Bunu nasıl aşıyor veya aşmıyor mu? Bununla ilgili soruyorlar.
I actually, apart from one time, never had that. Anxious or fear or I can be excited, but the only time I really felt this anxiety came with the very first show I did with Nightwish, because I really did not know what I was doing. Yes, I had no time to prepare, and I knew that, so I was ill prepared, and and on top of that, really having a bad cold, so half of my voice was gone. Not the ultimate moments to step on stage with one of the biggest bands in this genre. So yeah, then I felt real anxiety. But apart from that, actually, no. I felt a huge excitement when I did Wacken, first time headlining with Nightwish. but anxiety or that would really go towards fear, and that I didn't feel. Just like, oh, I know that we're going to face 70 to 80,000 people and their cameras everywhere, and we're making a DVD out of this. So the pressure was quite big. But yeah, still no anxiety. Yeah.
Mesela gene bu sahneyle alakalı merak ettiğim bir şey var. Yani Nightwish'e geçtikten sonra şimdi hep çoğu hayranları, yani büyük hayran kitleleri kendisini işte Tarja Turunen'le sürekli karşılaştırıyor. Fakat kendisinin iyi arkadaş olduklarını biliyoruz. Bu karşılaştırmayı can sıkıcı buluyor mu?
I honestly stopped reading a couple of years ago because it's always the same, always the same, always the same. And I know that we are more different than we are alike. So I respect her for what she's doing, and I wish her all the best. And what everybody else wants to compare, they can compare away. But yeah, it doesn't really change much about how I sing or about how she thinks and sings. And I still think, I mean, if you find it worth the analysis, then it's interesting to do so from a technical perspective, for example. But you also often see that it also starts to have to do with way more personal stuff and opinions based on zero knowledge of singing, and then that annoys me. If you have a statement about something you obviously know nothing about, then please don't.
Kesinlikle. Şimdi yeni şarkılarıyla ilgili de konuşmak istiyorum. The Bailed and Believe şarkısı hakkında biraz detay merak ediyorum. Yani bunu yazması, bu yazarken yaşadığı süreç nasıldı, nasıl gelişti bu şarkı?
I didn't write it. I sang it. So it was written by Han Korenheef. It's a Dutch songwriter, famous in the Netherlands for stuff he wrote for known Dutch artists. And he was asked to write this song for this TV documentary. And as soon as it started to take shape and they had me on board, they wanted to also release the song separately from the TV documentary. And yeah, so I never wrote anything. We just adapted it to my vocals.
Nightwish grubunda sizin vokaliniz geldikten sonra yapılan bestelerle ilişkiniz nasıl oluyor? Yani sizin sesinize göre beste yapıldığı, nasıl beste yapıyorsunuz? Grupla nasıl beste üretiyorsunuz? Onu merak ediyorum. Çünkü oldukça geniş bir ses renginiz var ve bu rengi kullanan besteler yapıldığını görüyoruz. Bununla ilgili neler söylemek istersiniz?
Oh yeah, we have one songwriter indeed in Nightwish, and that's Tuomas, and I guess he's well aware of what I can do, even though he really did challenge me on this latest album, where Vulcan heights as low as the speed of melodies were really tricky. I mean, he is a keyboard player, so he sings differently than I think a vocalist would do. So there is some work for me to get the melodies to flow, even when they are very fast and they make irregular jumps. And yeah, but he knows exactly in what range to write for me though.
Nightwish'in son albümüne gelmek istiyorum aslında. Albüm yayınlandıktan sonra korona pandemi dönemi başladı. Çalışmalar nasıl gidiyor? Önce albümün yapımı nasıl gitmişti? Albümle ilgili çalışma ve şu an çalışmaları nasıl gidiyor bu albümün tanıtım çalışmaları?
Yeah, well, we anyway wanted to make sure that the album could get released. It kind of, we had done all promotion that you need to travel for, fortunately, and it's been lined up for many years. People have been really waiting for it. So it's sad that we can't tour with it right now, but I think it's very nice for people to have something new to listen to when they are stuck at home. And the positive side effect could actually be that people have more time than they usually have to actually listen. But yeah, of course, it's really weird to see our whole tour just fall apart. I mean, we were supposed to start our world tour in China. So pretty much before it was actually an official pandemic, we were sure that it was going to be canceled there in China. Yeah. And the rest is just, well, we're still taking it as it comes, but at the same time, as horrible as it is, it's not going to take years and years either. So it's putting everybody in that sort of twilight position, and I think, yeah, that's it also comes with positive things.
Bu albümü diğer albümlerden ayıran bir fark var mı? Kendilerine göre bakış açıları neler?
Well, for one, this album has a 34-minute long classical suite without the band on it, written by Tuomas plays on it, Troy's playing on it, I'm singing on it, and it's definitely Nightwish, but it's not a band song. It's we're going to play ever. It's it's something that was in a system, and it totally fits with the concept of the album, the feeling, and the whole 9 yards, but definitely never done before. Which leaves us with the rest of the songs. We have 10 songs, 9 with band, and then the 10th is the long classical suite. And the 9 songs that we have played with the band is without orchestra, which is for the first time in many years, actually an album where we're not all playing, or where we don't have this orchestra, where there's a string quartet and the choirs there, but not the full blast of an orchestra. What's also a bit different, and that comes a bit in the line of the space that the orchestra also left when it's not there, is that we could experiment way more with harmonic voices. So Troy, Marco, and I are singing way more together, and the focus on harmonies with our voices was really a part of how the songs were written. Other than that, it's a definite sequel to the previous album, and a very natural second on it. So that would be...
Kendisini zaman zaman özel çalışmalarında mesela bir televizyon programında gördüm ve bambaşka şarkılar söylüyordu. Ya bu özellikle merak ediyorum. Bu farklı tarzda şarkıları söylerken hepsinde çok başarılı icra ediyor. Bunlarla ilgili ne düşünüyor? Neler söylemek ister?
You might have seen a Dutch TV program called Beste Zangers. Which is a program where they put singers together to sing their each other's music. It's not a contest, even though it kind of seems that way. But the singer whom impressed the person who was sang to the most kind of wins the show. But other than that, it's really about interpretation of other people's music, and I really like that challenge. I found it very important, however, to make it as much my own as possible, because I've been making music from the heart and from who I am from the get-go. So to all of a sudden lose myself in some kind of pop thing would not be me. So it would really have to be that, and that I found the biggest challenge of all. And a second challenge was that I sang in 4 different languages, of which one was Spanish, and I never sang Spanish. So that was definitely quite a challenge, because you don't want to, I know that I have an international career, and we have a lot of fans both in Spain as in Latin America. Many Spanish people Spanish-speaking fans. So there you go with your interpretation of something Spanish. It just needed to be right, and that was some work.
Ama gerçekten izlemesi harikulade. Muhteşem performanslarda. Tebrik ediyorum sizi. Yani biz büyülendik sizi izlerken.
Oh, thank you.
Yani şu an sizinle karşılıklı konuşuyorum ama benim için gerçekten şu anki dünya müziğinde dünyadaki özel seslerden birisiniz. Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you.
Müthiş.
Thank you.
Kesinlikle. Biraz önce farklı denemeleri olduğunu söyledi. Belki ileride bir Türk halk müziği şarkısı söylemek ister mi?
Yeah, talking about challenges.
Yes.
Well, maybe. First of all, the language will be a bit, and I think the melodies and the rhythms that you use are quite different from what I'm accustomed to. So, well, it will be a good challenge.
Eğer İstanbul'a tekrar gelirseniz lütfen haberimiz olsun. Size bir bağlama getirelim, Türk halk müziği sazı. Bir şarkı söyleyelim.
That would be wonderful. Do you also use the quarter tones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's already quite something.
Oh.
Yeah. When I was in Istanbul, there was a lot of street music.
Yeah.
And places everywhere you can smoke water pipe, which I thought was really delightful. And we usually would buy some fresh nuts and then sit somewhere and smoke a water pipe and listen to the music. And it's just, I have fond memories of that. So definitely, I would jam away.
Thank you so much. Kendisinin unutamadığı güzel veya kötü, bir güzel bir de kötü sahne anısı anlatabilir mi bize?
I think it pops to mind, and we were in Australia,
Yeah.
and we played this tiny seated theater where it was really close. And I don't mind small. I don't need to play big places to have a good time. But people seemed so tired, and my. You try to give energy and get everybody going, and it was a lot of work. But there was one woman who just did not want to get out of her seat. And that's annoying, I find, because we are just not making the kind of music where you sit down with. Maybe sometimes, but most of the time it's actually nice to just, go along with it. She fell asleep. So, okay, that was my experience.
Güzel, çok unutamadığım muhteşem bir anısı var mı?
I have so many. I mean, I've been performing live on stage over 20 years now.
20 years.
I have a really funny memory that pops to mind. I mean, we played a big festival, and I believe it was in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And I think that crowd's about 40,000 people that come to that festival. And sometimes people dress up and they start to crowd surf.
Yeah.
And there was this guy who dressed up as Spider-Man, and he started crowd surfing. And I think he did something like making a heart, or he tried to communicate. And I communicated back, and during the like having interaction and stuff. And then when the song was done, I said to the crowd, "It was so nice to see Spider-Man in the audience." But at that moment that I was talking, I couldn't see him anymore. And I out loud started to question, did I actually see Spider-Man? So in front of 40,000 people, I was like, guys, did you also see Spider-Man, or was that just... So that was a good one.
Nice. Katılan bütün konuklarımdan bir kendi ülkesinin halk müziği şarkısını bana söylemesini istiyorum. Yani bir Hollanda'nın bir halk müziği şarkısı. Olabilir mi böyle bir şey rica etsek kendisinden?
Okay, yeah. I've been singing some to my daughter, of course, some kiddie stuff. Op een grote paddenstoel, rood met witte stippen, zat kabouters vele benen heen en weer te wippen. Kraak, ze doen de paddenstoel met een dikke in de lucht.
Tüm izleyicilere, tüm kendisini dinleyenlere, kanalda izleyenlere bir mesajı varsa çok mutlulukla almak isteriz.
I hope that everybody has been enjoying our new album. And if you feel at home, locked at home, I could recommend you to take a moment to really sit with it and let it take you places, because I think it can if you take the time for it. Sit with a good headset, or if you have a good Wi-Fi system, just take your time to really listen, which is not something that everybody can do. You sometimes need to train that, but it's definitely worth the trip. Well, of course, in these days, the most important thing is our health. So if you have that, you're a rich person, and keep yourself healthy, please. And I really hope to see you once all of this is over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Thank you. I think you teşekkür ederim.
Oh, yes. Teşekkür ederim, yes. This is Turkish language. Thank you so much for everything. Good days.
Thank you. Take care.
So much. Bye-bye.